I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing Office 365 and how I plan on using Office 365 for this semester for the course that you have been enrolled in. And I would like to start off by talking about Teams. And I know that currently there's a few issues with students accessing Teams, but I want to go ahead and show you a little bit about how Teams works, and also in the event that our issue does get resolved, you'll be more familiar with Teams going forward. Now, if it turns out that it becomes a problem using Teams, then I think this video will help explain another way of accessing the same content that we'll be working with face-to-face. So when you log into Office 365, you should come to this main screen. And if you're new to Office 365, you can access these same apps by clicking on this window at the top left-hand corner of your screen, where you can also, if you wish, move around some of these icons. If there are certain apps that you're going to use more often, you can click and drag and move those around as you like. If you right-click, you can also resize these, and so you really can make this view to your liking. But we're going to go to Teams first, and all the content that we work with throughout the semester will be accessible through Teams. And when you go to the main page, on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see the team that you are a member of. Now, I went through and have already added students to the different teams. So you, again, should all appear as you enter into Teams. And that's the first thing I would check, is if your team appears here, then you know that you're a member. If for some reason your team doesn't appear, or the class, I should say, then please contact me, and we can look at your particular issue. But you'll notice here, and I'll collapse all of these to make this a little bit more readable, each one of these is a class. For example, Writing 1, Writing 2, Composition. These are the 3 courses this semester that I'll be teaching. And if you click on any one of these, then you can access what they call channels. And these are just different sections of the class. The General tab here, or the channel, this is where most of the content can be found. So you have Conversations here at the top, Files. These will be files that we share, and Class Notes, and Assignment. The class notebook is what we're going to use. In fact, this course content you can disregard. In fact, I'm going to be removing that shortly. But the class notebook is where all of the content will reside. And this basically is a OneNote. And you can see just a glimpse of some of the information here by just clicking on Class Notebook. But in most of your cases, you're going to want to edit the notebook or be able to view all of the content. And the best way to do that is to either open it up on OneNote, which you will need to have installed on your computer beforehand, or you can click Edit in Browser. So again, I recommend that you click Edit in Browser so that you can access more easily all of the information that can be found for the course. So the main tabs I want to bring to your attention here are the content library. The content library is going to be where all of the content will reside for the course. This is just information that I'm going to be sending to you. We may be using collaborative spaces where you as students can also edit the different sections or pages within sections. And you'll notice that each of you also has your own section as well. I think they refer to this as a group. And within each group, then you have sections, which are these, and then within each sections, you have pages. So each one of you is set up as being a group where you can also upload information and and you can see the different sections here that are linked with each of your accounts. So the main thing is, as you get started, is just to make sure that you can access this OneNote. And so if you go back to our main page, and I'll open up another tab here. So if we go to Mail, and I want to show you another way of accessing this same OneNote. So let's say that you are having issues accessing Teams, which I know, again, many of you are. And I am, by the way, working with systems, our IT department, to hopefully resolve the issue very quickly. They, in fact, are working with Microsoft, hopefully as we speak, to make sure that the students can access Teams. But let's say that you are unable to access Teams. Another way you can access the OneNote is to go to your Mail app, and you'll notice on the left-hand side, if you're new to Mail, you'll have a folder section and a group section. Under group section, you should have also the class or the group that's set up, that I actually set up under Teams. So if I go back to Teams, I know this is a little bit confusing, but let's say I want to access composition here. This team is also set up as a group. So this composition tab here is the same as a team called composition. Now you'll notice that it does look a little bit different. You'll notice here it has conversations. Now these conversations are not the same conversations that you'll find under Teams. So don't get confused with this. So notice that these conversations under composition Teams, you have certain content, which I've already uploaded, and we have conversations here in groups. So because all of you have accounts here, regardless if I post to one or the other, you should receive certain notifications to know that I uploaded certain information. But if we can get Teams working and all of the students can access Teams, I will usually upload all conversations to Teams. That's going to be my preference. But if I see that we have issues with students accessing Teams, then I will upload conversations via groups. But what I want to bring to your attention is basically these are both created at the same time. When I created the Teams account, I also, or the system actually created a composition group at the same time. All right, so you'll notice here that there's a calendar. I may or may not be using this in groups. Files, if we go to files, notice that the files here are going to be the same, I believe, as files here. No, that's all right. So the files, basically, I'm going to be I'll be working with you. Any shared files, I'll be clarifying in class how we're going to be dealing with this. Not to confuse the issue here, but these files, I've already set up files for each one of you, which is a shared online document, and we will not be using shared documents, the documents that you're going to be working with throughout the semester. We won't be using those files here. So the files in Teams and or in groups will be shared files that I just share with the whole group, not the Word document that you're going to be using throughout the semester. Again, I will be explaining this in detail in class as we get going. Now, going to the notebook. The notebook is the same notebook that we accessed in Teams. So notice, let me go back again here. If I go back to our groups page, this is another way of accessing the notebook, the OneNote notebook, where all of the content will reside. You can access this by going to groups, clicking on notebook, and you'll see here the same notebook that I opened up via Teams. Okay, so notice it's basically the exact same notebook. So any changes I make or that you make, whether you access it via groups or whether you access it via Teams, it's the same OneNote document. And that's the main thing I want you to realize, because either way, if you have issues with Teams, I want you to be able to access all of this information in OneNote. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to show you. If you are new to OneDrive, all of you have OneDrive, and this is where also you can access your shared Word Online document. I sent everyone an email at the beginning of the course with a link to your Word document. And again, this is the one document that you're going to be using throughout the semester. All of the text that you'll be creating for the course will be in your own personal shared Word Online document. This same document is also shared with me, so I can also review your work and leave comments as necessary. So I wanted to clarify some of the ways that you can kind of get around accessing different content, whether it's OneNote, whether it's if it's going through Teams, accessing the different information. If Teams works, if it looks like students aren't having issues with Teams, again, most of the information will be found and most of the conversations that we have will reside here in Teams. We'll also be using the assignments tab, which I think is a good feature, which will give you corresponding dates to different activities that we do in class. The last thing I'll say is there are a few apps. I know many of you are bringing your cell phones to class, and I encourage you to do that, whether, again, it's a cell phone. You could also be a tablet or a laptop. Since our writing classes, much of what we do we'll be doing in class, and writing will be, I think some students feel it is easier if they bring a laptop. So if you want to bring a laptop, feel free to do that. But if you also want to work on your cell phone and work with your cell phone or with a tablet, that's fine too. But I would upload the following apps on your mobile device. These are all accessible via the Apple Store, Apple Play, for Android phones and also iPhone. The apps that I would recommend that you download: Microsoft Word. I would install Teams. There's a separate app for Teams. And you might even want to download OneDrive. This would be optional, but you might also want to download the OneDrive app if you want to access files on your mobile device. And there are other apps. There's virtually an app for each one of these. OneNote, I definitely would also install the OneNote app as well. Any other apps are really at your discretion, but I think these 4 apps, I think, are the main apps that I would install. And probably you want to add your email Edu account to the mail client that you're already using. I don't think it's necessary to install Outlook on your phone. If really you're only interested in email, you could just add the Edu account to your phone client, the email client that you're using. If anyone has issues about installing apps, accessing different parts of Office, please feel free to contact me. But realize at the beginning here, today's date is August 17th. So as we speak, I'm still working with our systems department to see if we can resolve the issue of students not being able to access Teams. But once that issue hopefully is resolved quickly, you won't have problems accessing Teams. So this will conclude this tutorial. Again, feel free to reach out, send me an email, come by my office, bring your device if you have issues, and we'll be working again with Office 365 with most of the work that we do for this semester.